Hi, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter, and today we're going to be talking about All-Star Weekend and whether it's been being better or worse, the NFL coaching cycle. We're going to be talking about Tom Brady's retirement, and then we're also going to be talking about the NBA championship. The NFL championship game. But before that, an hour ago, the news just broke. Kyrie Irving was traded to the Mavericks. Before we get to everything else, what were your thoughts on that?
Just what a weird situation. Just when everything was going right for the Brooklyn Nets, a trade request has to come in. They're 31-20 heading into last night's game. They're now 32-20 right now. Top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, looking like a team that could potentially go to the finals this year. You have the guys in place, and then Kyrie requests a trade, even though he's playing lights out this year. So, I obviously, I'm Jewish for one, so I know what the stuff he said has deeply offended me, and I think a lot of people out there. But just aside from like the off court stuff, which has been bad, like on the court, great player, but why is there always have to be some sort of drama with him, even on the court? It's just very weird. This was supposed to be a big era for the Nets. Kevin Durant and him teaming up. They're going to go on a championship run. James Harden was there. Then they got Ben Simmons, and then he hasn't really done anything. It's just, you honestly, D, you need to make a documentary about the Brooklyn Nets for these last 2 years. You could probably fit, excuse me, at least 2 hours of content into that movie. Just what a dumpster fire. They got as probably good of a return as they could have gotten for him. But man, that just what a sad ending, just because it looked like everything was going right. And then that trade request pops up. Boom. I don't think the Nets are going to trade Kevin Durant. I saw the Phoenix Suns are interested in him, but they're top 4 in the East. Like they're not just going to give up on this season for no reason. But, glad they got it out of the way sooner rather than later. It looked like it was going to maybe be the Lakers or the Suns, but him teaming up with Luka now is going to be really interesting because they both love having the ball in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I think that you're right. It's been drama after drama after drama with Kyrie Irving. Like, this was a guy that was supposed to be the heir apparent to LeBron James in Cleveland, and ever since then he went to Boston. There's an issue there. He's been going from place to place, and he's getting to the point of the drama is not becoming worth the talent. He's a very talented player, but what he does on field, how he produces on field, he hurts you off the court. And this whole trade request 2 3 days before the trade deadline is not good. It was not good. And him and Luca, that's gonna be good. But my only fear, if you're a Mavericks fan, it's him and Luca, and then who else do you have after? It's like it's still very front loaded roster, so it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what they do there. Yeah, I did want to touch upon the potential Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant. We know that the Phoenix Suns have always been a place for Durant, and if this is gonna really test the whole uh, Durant and Kyrie Irving, where they always a package deal. So when you remove one, does that mean Durant gets to go? But yeah, this whole net situation, it is a giant mess. I mean, Steve Nash was coaching, then got fired, and all this guys would come and go. I mean, you're right. James Harden was there. Now Ben Simmons is there. I mean, it is not it's not the most fun thing in the world. Let let but let's talk about the next thing, which is Tom Brady. Tom Brady, this guy retired. About this guy for a second
This,
straight
this
year
guy,
under
this guy
reserve.
retired.
He the greatest quarterback of all time. He retired. Um, at first, I thought it was a publicity stunt because he has that movie coming out, which, by the way, somehow made 12.5 million this weekend. I don't know how. I don't know how that movie made more than $10 million this weekend. But I mean, what were your thoughts? Like, do you think it's what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, I don't know if you saw someone went to the exact filming location and got the sand, is now auctioning that
Oh my
sand where he
god.
stood for like $100,000. I'm sorry if anyone bids on something like that, which I think people have. you are insane. You can spend your money on so much other better stuff than whatever that is. But, it's a fitting end to his career, indeed. Great player, greatest quarterback to ever live. Think he's going to be the greatest quarterback to ever live for a very long time, unless Patrick Mahomes has a similar kind of career. But, yes, he could still play, but it was time. You have nothing left to prove. Like, does he eat?
No.
7 rings? Unless you want a ring on all 10 of your fingers here, you have nothing left to prove. You won 6 rings with one team. You go to Tampa Bay, you won one there.
Okay,
Well,
before you continue, if it wasn't for the NFC East, he would have 10 rings.
Honestly, yeah, he would have at least 9 rings right now. And well, actually, no, you're right. It would be 10, 2 to the Giants and 1 to the Eagles. You're right. It's crazy how you think about that. But, it was time. He's 45 years old. Go spend time with your family. Your kids are not getting any younger. I understand the stuff with Giselle, go find a new wife. Also, he has a 10-year, $375 million contract lined up with Fox. I think he is A-okay calling it a career.
Poor Greg Olsen. They're gonna yank him out.
I feel bad for him. He's been really good with Kevin Burkhardt. I am curious to see how Brady does with Burkhardt. How is his analysis? How is his feel for the game on TV compared to on the field? Is he going to have like a big coming in moment like Tony Romo did, but then fall off like Romo has? Or is he just going to have, that big coming in moment, then it's going to stay the same? Or maybe he's just bad coming into broadcasting. Who knows? I'm really curious to see how he does, because they've ponied up almost $400 million to have him be the top color commentator for the network. He's going to call Super Bowls for them. Really curious to see how that goes. But, again, he's 45 years old. He has nothing left to prove. Glad that he called it a career. And now the NFC South for next season is wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously we'll talk in the coaching cycle with Sean Payton, but regarding the broadcasting stuff, the thing for Tom Brady, he needs to remember, he is very knowledgeable about football. He is a football savant. Here's the thing: when you are broadcasting to a wide audience. Not everyone is going to have the knowledge that you have. Not everyone is a player in the locker room. So can Tom Brady take his analysis that he has in his head and know and recognize that the people watching are not in his position. So the terms he uses, how he describes things, he has to know how to kind of filter that communication. But we know he knows a lot about the game, but can he communicate it to more like a simpleton audience and then later to more of an advanced audience? And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't bringing up. I think he can, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see who his broadcast partner would be, because
it's going to be Kevin Burkhardt, right?
Yeah,
I
believe so. Yeah, I believe so. But it would have to be someone who can balance out him, right? It's like you can't have like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in a booth together. As great as that would sound, they're just two very simple. Like both of those approach football in the same way. You want someone like a Kevin Burkhardt. You want someone like that can kind of has more of the populist type of approach to football, and then Tom Brady can kind of come in and give you the more technical details. But yeah, like 45 years old, great career. It's not quite Jordan with the Wizards. He did kind of go out on his own terms. But I mean, yeah, you look at the Buccaneers. I think he looked at the situation with the Buccaneers. Todd Bowles isn't really a great coach. Byron Leftwich was fired. We don't know who they're going to bring in as their OC. It looks like Monken from Georgia is the favorite for that job, but who knows? They're $50 million over the cap, so maybe they got to trade Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. Who knows? So this is a team let's be honest here with the Buccaneers. When they brought in Tom Brady, they recognized they had a short window. They maximized it with that first Super Bowl. They've just been going downhill ever since. And they made that decision with Tom Brady, knowing that at some point, once Tom Brady leaves, that organization, that team is going to be run to the ground. They need to rebuild. So, and let's see what they do. And luckily for them, they're not in a good division. We'll see what Frank Reich does with the Panthers. We'll see who the Falcons put at quarterback. We'll see what the
The
Saints do.
Saints. Yep.
We'll see what the Saints
I think
do.
it's funny. Almost every single one of those teams needs a quarterback heading into next year, unless the Falcons are confident in Desmond Ridder starting, which they probably are. I think they're going to give him a chance to take that job. Panthers need a quarterback. Saints need one, unless they're going to run Andy Dalton back, which I don't think would be a good idea. And the only quarterback on the Bucs right now is Kyle Trask.
Yeah, no,
Derek Carr's an option for all those teams. Jimmy Garoppolo's an option for all of those teams. There's going to be other quarterbacks, I think, that will get released that will be options. You're going to see a lot. The quarterback carousel is going to be really intriguing to see what happens in that division.
Yeah, and we know Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be coming back to the 49ers. We know that. So that's going to be maybe he goes to Buccaneers and maybe he is the Tom Brady replacement. Maybe that is the case because here's the thing.
Aaron Rodgers?
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like I said, the cap space for the Buccaneers. It's not like they can go and bring in one of these big name guys. I think Derek Carr might be a Saints quarterback because we'll talk about the All-Star weekend and we'll talk about a certain comment that Derek Carr made about basically saying he's out all the Raiders. So I think he could be going to the Saints. But yeah, no, like it's gonna be interesting. I mean, they could be in the market for quarterback, but at the end of the day, are they going to trade picks to get into the top 10? Because they're right now they're 19th overall pick, so it's going to be really. I don't know which direction they're going to go. I mean, it all depends on the OC. So the Buccaneers are a bit of a mess, but they're in the right place for that to happen. So let's just talk about All Star. Actually, let's talk about coaching cycle. So we know that Sean Payton Sean Payton made the Broncos traded more picks to get Sean Payton. We know that the Cowboys fired Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore then goes to the Chargers, and then the Cowboys bring in Marty Schottenheimer as their OC.
He's just a yes man. I mean, we all know who's calling the plays for the Dallas Cowboys next season. It's Mike McCarthy. So I don't really have that many thoughts on that hire. Once you fire Kellen Moore, the guy who was calling the plays, and once it was announced that McCarthy was going to be calling the plays, you could hire me as your offensive coordinator, and I wouldn't have any input. Just like probably Marty Schottenheimer is going to have maybe a little bit of input, but at the end of the day, who's calling the plays?
Right. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting there. I mean, obviously, we have some drama with the Cardinals and their head coaching search. Before we talk about the rest of the league, I do want to do an update on the Ravens search as well. So basically, they have requested second interviews with Todd Monken, the Georgia offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, the Seahawks quarterback coach. He used to be the passing game coordinator as well. Justin Outen, who was the offense coordinator for the Broncos in the final 2 games of the season. He was named the offense coordinator all year, but he was really only calling plays for the last 2 games where they had their highest scoring output. Then they brought in Brian Angelicho, who's the Vikings passing game coordinator, for a second interview. If I remember, it's Outen, Canales. I think those were the guys they brought in. It's going to be really interesting. It's interesting that if you take away Munkin out of the whole situation, all those guys have some sort of Shanahan or McVay ties. Like, what was it? Canales the offense coordinator was Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron was McVay. Angelicho was retained by Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell was among that group, and even going back to Washington. So it's very clear that they want to run a zone scheme, which is going to help Tyler Linderbaum, and then they're also going to focus on the passing game and receivers. So that's so if you want to know what type of offense the Ravens are going to run, think Kyle Shanahan, think Sean McVay, zone scheme, that type, because it seems like that's where they're going. Now, they apparently they interviewed Byron Leftwich. I don't think he'll get the job. And then Eric Bieniemy they requested to interview him, but it's interesting with Bieniemy because Ravens fans don't want a friend of Harbaugh to be the next coordinator. But I just keep hearing hire Bieniemy. But I didn't know about this until a few days ago. Did you guys know? Did you know that Eric Bieniemy was actually was a player that was coached by John Harbaugh in 1999?
Nope. I actually
No.
did not know that.
So Eric Bieniemy's final year as a player as a running back was in 1999 with the Eagles, and John Harbaugh was the special teams coordinator that season. And oh yeah, by the way, Deuce Staley was the starting running back for the Eagles that season. So Bieniemy did play a lot. I believe he did play a lot of special teams that year. So and also he does kind of look his resume. If you take away Mahomes, that era, his resume is very similar to James Urban, Martin Morningweg. Oh, by the way, you want to know who on that was on that 1999 staff? Other than on that, so it was Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, Leslie Frazier, David Culley, was it Sean McDermott, Ron Rivera. A lot those guys were on that 1999 staff. Now they went 5-11, which was, and I think that was like Donovan McNabb's rookie year. But it's insane. Like you go back to some of these staffs, and there's a lot of big name people there. But yeah, no, but I mean, it is interesting that Ravens fans don't want a friend of Harbaugh. They're advocating for Eric Bieniemy, whose resume is similar to some of these coaches. And oh, by the way, Eric Bieniemy actually, John Harbaugh actually coached Bieniemy. So, but you're saying you don't want a friend of Harbaugh, but you're advocating for the biggest friend of Harbaugh there out there.
Yeah.
So, and then even then, like when you try to bring that up, I tried to bring that up like on some comments on YouTube. They said, "Well, okay, that's fine. Well, that's fine." It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But if it's James Urban, you have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Martin Morningweg, you got a problem with it. But because it's the guy that you wanted before you knew about the fact, you're trying to justify your opinion that this guy's a good candidate, even though he breaks one of the biggest rules that you have for your like. Ultimately, I don't think Bieniemy gets it. I think that I think you know what I actually he's either going to be the offense coordinator for the Kansas City, and be the head coach in waiting. I could see him being the offensive coordinator for the Commanders. Not because that's a good team, but because he needs to be he's going to take if he leaves, it's going to be a head coaching job. Whether that's with the command, like hypothetically, after Ron Rivera were to go, and I think that's where he needs to go, a place where he can establish himself. But the other thing is, if you can fix the Commanders' offense, you could be getting a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the Commanders of all teams.
Yeah. So, and then ultimately, we're going to get into the All-Star weekend. Oh, we're getting to the news as well. And now I will also point out that it was curious that Lamar has been unactive. He's been dormant on Instagram lately for a month. All these interviews for the Ravens came out on Friday, and then later on Friday, I think I sent you. I may have sent you a picture of one of his Instagram stories.
You did,
yeah. He posted like 2 or 3 stories like "Can't wait for next season." Posted like a highlight video. It's like, this story, this information comes out about second interviews, which is very relevant for him. And he posts these information. Like, he's active on social media, being excited about next season. I wonder if there's something going on there where he is excited, like he's happy with some of these choices, and we hear either a contract and then an OC agreement, or an OC agreement and a contract. I think this is all good news because I think he didn't want to sign a contract knowing that with no guarantee that Roman would not be retained. Knowing the backgrounds of some of these coaches, I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance he's actually happy with some of these coaches. And I think I'm listening to Dave Canales' interviews. He just seems like a Harbaugh guy, especially with talking about building culture and his faith and everything. And I just feel like he will get along with Lamar. So my prediction right now, I mean, I think it's Canales. Look at the work he did with Geno Smith. Look at the work he did with Russell a few years ago. I just feel like what he does is great. Now, let's talk about the other ones. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this Cardinals situation? Cardinals and Colts head coaching situation.
Weird. You know, I saw the Colts rumors, and they might be doing a third round of interviews. Apparently, the second round, 12 hours. I am sorry, Adit. What the hell are you doing during a 12-hour interview? Getting free food, meeting the staff, talking away, I guess, meeting everyone. I don't know. 12 hours. I think if you're interviewing for 12 hours at a job, probably don't want that job. Just my opinion, though. But I don't really know what the heck is going on with that search. The
It's the
Cardinals.
Irsay family. What do you think?
It's Jimmy. It's Jim Irsay. I wouldn't want to work under him. I'll say that. As for the Cardinals, Lou and Anarumo is getting a second interview. That is very big. I actually do want him away from the Bengals. That would be nice.
What would you rather have? See, let's pretend that Brian Callahan and Anna the OCs and the DC for the Bengals are the two finalists. As a Steelers fan, who would you rather have and it was going to be between one of those guys, the Cardinals to hire?
I'd go with Anarumo. I think he's done a marvelous job with that Bengals defense the last several years. He's that unit's been very good. You take him away from there, Joe Burrow is going to be good with whoever offensive coordinator is there. That's how I see it. He's one of the elite quarterbacks in this league. But Anarumo has done a great job with that Bengals defense. He's very well known for his adjustments, especially in the second half. I'd be more happy if he left than Callahan. And it looks like the Cardinals are pretty serious about Anarumo. But that's been a very interesting search. They've interviewed a lot of people. The Colts, they've interviewed a lot of people as well. I'm not really sure who's going to get back gig. It was nice to see the Broncos one finally wrap up. There was some weird,
yeah,
PR going back and forth. I don't know if the Broncos were doing damage control with the whole.
They wanted DeMeco Ryan.
The DeMeco Ryan saying like, oh, he was their first choice. Well, then there was a report that he wasn't. That it was Sean Payton. Damage control. I think that's probably what it was. I mean, Jacina's very good. Don't get me wrong. I think she's an excellent reporter. But Rappaport, was saying. I think it was Rappaport that said like they went back and forth, but Jacina was saying it was Sean Payton. I don't really know. I would lean with Jacina just because, it's tough. It seems like damage control, but in the end they got Payton. It's all a matter of let Russ cook, as the saying goes. Broncos country, let's ride. If he can't unlock Russell Wilson again, who else can? I mean, Payton's one of the best offensive coaches, I think, of this generation. He has to be able to get Wilson back on track. It's funny, the Broncos paid draft picks to get him because, Adit, who cares about draft picks when you're the Denver Broncos when you've given up so many the last couple of years? Right. Good on the Saints for getting that first rounder back, but they better win fast. You don't got a lot of draft picks these next couple of years. Better hope that Russ can get back on track. They have a good defense. I do think that's going to be a Brian Flores landing spot. That's the way it's going right now. There's not too many defensive coordinator spots open. I think there's only the Vikings and the Broncos, if I recall correctly.
PJ went to the Dolphins, so yeah.
Yeah.
So Cardinals as well, and Texans as well.
If you're asking me, I do think Flores is probably going to get one of those gigs. I think it's going to be the Broncos one with Sean Payton. We'll have to see. Would be a big loss for the Steelers, of course. Would not get a comp pick back. But, I think the Broncos made a fine hire. I think Sean Payton's a little overrated, but I also think he's a lot better than Nathaniel Hackett. So what really can go wrong? With that, then DeMeco Ryans, we get another minority coach in the NFL. That's huge just for the league overall. I think he's going to do a great job with Houston. He did a marvelous job with the 49ers defense. Just get him a quarterback, please. Select Bryce Young with the number 2 overall pick, or if you trade up with the Chicago Bears, something like that. Get him some help on offense. He's going to have a great defense there. Overall, though, I'm mostly pleased with the carousel so far. Just what were your overall thoughts this week and just overall?
I remember when we were talking about the last game of the season or second last game with the Texans and how they fumbled their opportunity to get the number overall pick. I was like, I said that, it's no big deal. Like the Bears are going to be, they're not taking quarterback. They probably were better off tanking for that number 1 overall pick, because by going after DeMeco Ryans, you're basically saying we want a quarterback. And if you're the Bears, you are going to field offers for that number 1 overall pick because you don't really need.
They should. They absolutely should field offers and get a massive more for that, in my opinion.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the Texans may have overplayed their hand because this might have been a situation of, okay, well, the Bears, we don't know how willing they are to trade that pick. So, and we know they're not going to take a quarterback. So it's almost like we have the number one overall pick in terms of our pick of the litter when it comes to the quarterback. So now what you're really hoping for is that one, a team doesn't trade up to go and get a quarterback, which who knows? I think a team could do that. And but also you're hoping that there's not a big difference between Stroud and Young to the point of because now is if a team does trade up for that number one overall pick, and you let's say the Texans really like Bryce Young way more than CJ Stroud or vice versa, and the number one team that gets the number one overall pick takes the quarterback that the Texans really like. Now they just outplayed themselves because now they really wanted Bryce Young, but now they have to deal with C.J. Stroud or the other way around. If they like them both equally, then they're fine because you're guaranteed one of them. But they did kind of overplay their hand. The Cardinals, like good thing for if you're the Cardinals, you can get out Kyler Murray's contract in 2025. It seems like that is one of the biggest hurdles of the head coaching thing. Obviously, we heard the rumors last year when he signed his contract about the homework clause. It just really goes to show that be really careful. Be really careful when you sign the guys long term because it was very clearly Cliff and Kyler. But now when Cliff's out of the picture, whoever's going to take that job now is pretty much stuck with Kyler Murray for the next couple of years, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if being stuck with Kyler Murray is a good thing. Sean Payton, I never will agree with trading draft picks for head coaches. I think that is one of the dumb. I think it is one of the dumbest things in the world. I do not like the idea of trading draft picks for coaches after you traded a boatload of picks for another quarterback, for a quarterback who, by the way, has underperformed. So the Broncos have made some bad moves recently. I think Sean Payton's still a good coach. I think he'll get a good staff, but you're still in a division with Kansas City and Chargers, which, by the way, and if you're Sean Payton, I just do wonder if you just wait if a head coaching opportunity would not have worked if you would have waited till next season because Josh Daniels is stuck in as the coach for Raiders for a while, and we don't know if Brandon Staley will get fired after this season anyway. So it's a risky move they made. We'll see what the staff looks like. Flores does seem like a good fit. It seems like Bobby Slowick is the favorite for the Texans OC job. That's gonna be interesting, or Anthony Lynn, one of those two. I feel like it's gonna be one of those two. Defensive coordinator. I think there's like Orochek, the D-line coach for the 49ers. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna throw out another name that both of us would be really interested to seeing. Daryl Tapp as the DC.
That would be intriguing. He's in San Francisco now, right?
Yeah, he's on the same. And I mean, look, Daryl Tapp could very well be the next DC of the 49ers. He could very well be the Texans. So if you're a Virginia Tech fan, it's a good Daryl Tapp's in a fantastic situation for a promotion. So it's going to be interesting there. We're going to talk about the All-Star Weekend. We had the NHL All-Star Weekend, the Pro Bowl. Some of the Pro Bowl events were fine. The long drive was pretty much just golfing, precision passing. And then I mean, it's not. It's fine. It's fine for the first year. I feel like if they can keep rotating events, it'll be better. But did you catch a little bit of the Pro Bowl? Just some of the events.
I've seen some of the highlights of it today. It looks so funny out there when they're not even wearing helmets. All the flags. I saw Trevor Lawrence like tiptoeing the sideline, not trying to do his best Dan Orlovsky impression there through the pick. And I think it was returned for a touchdown. I mean, they're just screwing around. You know, if you want to rank the All-Star games in terms of watchability, MLB All-Star game, because there's actually something to play for with the home field advantage. I think that's still there.
I think that's gone, but at least you got the home derby.
When it was there, it was still awesome.
Yeah.
Basketball, I would probably put second. Hockey, 50 feet of crap, 50 feet of more crap, and then probably the Pro Bowl. There's
Yeah.
just like there's nothing to watch with it. I mean, again, it's all-star games. No one tries. I get it, but I still want to see at least a little bit of effort. But these guys, they're joking around out there. I saw Cam Hayward today jokingly slamming Tyreek Hill to the ground on the sideline. I'm like, what are we doing here? I mean, it's just, we all saw what the Pro Bowl was last year before they changed it to flag football,
Yeah.
where these guys were just, they weren't even trying. They weren't even hitting them. So, I never watched the Pro Bowl. Some of the drills were cool. As for the hockey, they got to, I think, revamp this whole thing. Honestly, the skills competition was the biggest joke I've ever seen on Friday. They just got to stick to the same things. The fastest skater, everyone likes watching that. Hardest shot, because everyone wants to see like a 115, 120 mile per hour slap shot. Accuracy shooting, that's a lot of fun. And just do the breakaway challenge, but just actually stick to it. All those 4 events, I don't need anything else. I don't need them shooting pucks at surfboards and dunking players. I don't need them going in and out of events to commercials. It's just, I understand they want to change things up, but less is more. You're trying to appeal to basically 8 to 10-year-olds here, the same kids, most kids who play Fortnite these days. Hey, I do play Fortnite just because I like the game, but most people that play that game are 8 to 10 years old, just like your target audience is here for the NHL All-Star game. So they just have to do a better job with it overall. The 3-on-3, it's fine. It's just the players don't really try out there. The guys were just gliding around like it was nothing. They got to just revamp the whole thing. But, it's All-Star weekends. At the end of the day, I'm not, it's not really a massive deal also.
Yeah, no, I do want to, yeah, so I mean, that I will say the precision passing in football, one of the better parts of it was, I wonder how they did in baseball, like the home run derby, but you do like precision passing, so you do like certain zones. Or maybe you do something where it's like a home run derby type thing, but it's like, but you have like certain zones like in the outfield, like if you hit it in this area, it's 5 points. If you hit it in this area, it's 4, or stuff like that. Um, because right now I understand the whole thing. You don't do like a stolen base competition because guys will get hurt, but you don't do like fastest velocity because guys will get hurt. Um, but we'll move on to the championship, the NFL playoff talk. But just want to hear your quick thoughts on what are your thoughts like for the MLB for MLB All Star Weekend. What are your thoughts on them doing like a pitchers competition to be very accurate, or like a home run derby type thing, but it's like precision hitting where you hit it in certain zones. What are your thoughts on that for like MLB All Star Weekend?
That would be interesting. I honestly just liked home run derby the way they do it now. I think the changes they made were very good. It's fun to watch. There's
Right.
something on the line. Everyone likes watching dingers. That appeals to a little kid audience. That's why you see the little kids out there. I honestly don't need to see too many changes to that. Pitching wise, though, I think precision, that would be actually kind of cool, like how they do in hockey with the accuracy shooting. Indeed, they put the 4 things in the
Yeah.
corners, and then Connor McDavid did it in 9 seconds. Would like to see maybe someone like Clayton Kershaw do it, Jacob deGrom, some of the other better pitchers in baseball, see if they can, put 4 targets like around the plate, see how fast they can do the bullseye and hit them. And then
Right.
maybe you can get like a cool prize out of that. That would be cool. Home run derby, I think they should just keep the same though.
What about precision hitting? Like you do like a round of batting practice, but then you set up like
Right.
certain zones, and then you have like 2 or 3 people from each league, and then whoever gets the most points. Do you think like a precision batting type thing?
That could
Precision,
be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll ever implement it, but maybe you can put it like different points, like
yeah.
just like in the outfield or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool.
All right, so we'll talk about the NFL playoffs. So right now we had the Chiefs beat the Bengals, we had the Eagles beat the 49ers. So let's talk what were your main takeaways from those games?
I felt the 49ers had no chance when Brock Purdy got out. I felt really bad for them because, they had done so well to get to this point, right? You win 11, 12 games in a row with a third string quarterback. You battle injuries all year to other positions. You finally get to this moment. You're ready to take on the Eagles. The game is actually not going bad to start. Well, they give up that touchdown, and Kyle Shanahan probably should have challenged that play, to be honest, with Devontae Smith. But then your quarterback gets hurt. He screws up his UCL. He's going to be out for at least the next 6 months, could be longer. And then you're forced to run the ball the entire time. Once you're down to Josh Johnson, and then he gets hurt, and then you can't even throw the ball. I just feel so bad. Like, they stood no chance once that injury happened. So I wasn't surprised that the Eagles won that game once Purdy got hurt. As for Chiefs Bengals, that was a classic game. I thought the officiating, though, was absolutely disgusting. The NFL needs to get this under control. In my opinion, I think the officiating in this sport gets worse year after year after year. I am not someone who thinks games are rigged. I will never subscribe to that notion. I do at times think that officiating is very fishy with home cooking and stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and say that games are rigged. You would have to have everyone in on something. Like, think about how many people would have to be in on rigging a game. The commissioner, other people in the league office, the officials, everyone. Like, that is not a thing here, people. So, it's, say what you want about the officiating in that game, and it was bad, but this is a league-wide issue, and it's not going to get any better until they hire guys full-time, and also until they put a sky judge up there to finally, send something down to say, hey, this is wrong and something like that. Please put a sky judge up there. It is not hard. So outside of the officiating problem, that game was a lot of fun. I thought Patrick Mahomes showed why he is the best quarterback in football. For people that say that Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes, shut the hell up. I think Joe Burrow is awesome. I know he plays in our division, but he is not better than Patrick Mahomes and never has been. I think at best, he's the second or third best quarterback in football. You could easily argue for second over Josh Allen with the way Burrow played this year. But Patrick Mahomes is in a league of his own, and he showed that in this one. He is the reason why the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. He did that on one bum leg. He is absolutely unbelievable. Also, Eli Apple, stop talking trash. I've never seen a more mid cornerback talk as much as he does. And, it's just, stop talking so much crap, man. And also, I will say that to the entire Cincinnati Bengals team, indeed. Karma's a biatch sometimes. I apologize for my language. That's what you get when you talk so much crap to a team during the week. I know you've beaten them 3 times in a row, but eventually that streak is going to break, and it did in this one. But, I'll also say the Chiefs' defense was spectacular late in the fourth quarter. I thought when Andy Reid decided to punt with, less than 2 minutes left, I thought that was a cowardly move by him because there was a really good chance that they were not going to give the ball back. But kudos to Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs' defense. They stood up, and they got the ball back into Mahomes' hands, and they were able to get the field goal with only a few seconds left, thanks to also a really stupid play by that Bengals linebacker to push him out of bounds. But it was an instant classic. Those are my main thoughts on it. And, we'll do a Super Bowl preview next weekend. It's going to be a really fun game. Overall, what were your thoughts from both games?
Yeah, so let's first talk about the Bengals Chiefs one. My takeaways were, I feel bad for Joseph Asai. That dude is a 22-year-old rookie. He was just trying to make a play. Yeah. The momentum of the game carried his the force of his impact, and it hit him out of bounds. The guy does not deserve the criticism he was getting, and he was probably getting some criticism here and there.
So honestly, he's probably getting some really bad death threats and stuff in his DMs and stuff, which is disgusting. Please don't ever do that.
Yeah. So here's a note of advice for the Bengals. Unless your name is Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, or Hayden Hurst, shut your mouth. Like Travis Kelce said, shut your mouth, know your role. So, and also the Cincinnati mayor, I mean, don't do something stupid like that. I mean, you got called a jabroni by Travis Kelce. At least the Cincinnati mayor could take a joke. And also, not just Eli Apple needs to calm down. His mom needs to chill the F out. His mom, because she deactivated
Cancun on 3.
Yep.
Cancun on 3, baby.
She deactivated her Twitter account within 30 minutes of the game being over. So, and look, the Bengals got what they deserved, and we'll see what happens. Because they got 40 million and 44 million cap space, but you got to pay Joe Burrow soon. You got to pay those receivers soon. Your safeties in Jesse Bates and I think someone else all those guys, you got a bunch of guys in free agency that are going to be free agents. So it's gonna be interesting what they do there. And like we mentioned, the defense coordinator might go to become the Arizona head coach. I would rather see him go be the head coach because if they went with the offense coordinator for the Cardinals when one was the offense coordinator, I feel like the Bengals would just promote their quarterback coach and it'll be fine. But if you take their defensive coordinator out from Cincinnati and put him in Arizona, I don't know who they have under that guy that will come up and do a good job, do at least as good of a job. So that's kind of why I would want them to go for it with the defense coordinator. Um, Mahomes is going to carry the torch for the next group of players. I mean, you had your LeBron James and like all those guys with Manning and Brady and all those other guys. Now you got your Steph Curry in Mahomes. And I know people are going to say uh, Michael Jordan, whatever. I think Mahomes is closer to Steph Curry, especially with both their dads being famous athletes. So it's going to be interesting. It's ultimately he is going to be the next guy up. It was a very gutsy performance. Like you could tell in that fourth quarter, he after some of those runs, he was limping. You could tell that ankle was really bothering him. The defense did a good job. They're putting pressure on Joe Burrow early, all that stuff. I like the way the receivers played. But this week it's going to be really. I think that's going to be Travis Kelce should have a big game. Here's the thing with this Super Bowl, Smith Schuster could make himself a lot of money. He could make a lot of money. Marquez Family's market MVS was a good pickup by them. Hardman could make himself a lot of because that's the other thing I'm going to be looking forward to. We'll talk a little bit more next week, but the Chiefs have a couple of receivers hitting free agency. This is a moment for them to make a lot of money. It's going to be really fun to see them. Now, the 49ers and the Eagles game, Eagles dominated. It's as simple as that. It was no fair. It was not fair since uh, Purdy went out, and then Josh Johnson, who by the way has one of the largest itineraries of any quarterback in the NFL. But yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting what they do there. I mean they're gonna be entering this next season with Brock Purdy not going to be available for most of the season probably because I don't know what Tommy John's going to look like for quarterbacks. Trey Lance, we don't know what he's going to look like. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be out. Josh Johnson, I don't know what he's going to look like. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do at quarterback. But which does bring up the question: we hear about Kyle Shanahan being this really good coach for quarterbacks, but you have to remember he was there when RG3 got hurt with Washington. C.J. Beathard got hurt under his watch. Jimmy Garoppolo's gotten hurt under his watch. Josh Johnson's gotten hurt. Brock Purdy's gotten hurt. Trey Lance has gotten hurt. I mean, is it fair to ask the question? Are there parts of Kyle Shanahan's scheme that aren't so quarterback friendly because of the injury risk? He's good in scheming quarterbacks, but
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like
did you see his answer though this week when he was asked about that?
No, what did he say? I forgot what it was.
He basically just said like, so someone actually did ask that question or close to it, and can you really like ask that? I feel like when Trey Lance breaks his ankle on a run, like he's just running on a running play.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo's in the pocket, breaks his foot. Brock Purdy has his elbow just completely taken out on a throw. Josh Johnson gets his head slammed to the turf. It's just, I think it's just bad luck, I think, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
When his teams are healthy, they're very good. He's gotten to the Super Bowl in a couple of NFC Championship games. If they had better injury luck, and they would probably maybe have even won a Super Bowl by now, to be honest. It's just he wasn't able to call the game that he wanted to because he didn't have the quarterback that he wanted to in this game. And hopefully next year, at least Trey Lance will be able to stay healthy.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I admit it is a little unfair. It is kind of bad luck. I mean, if it was one of those things of the way that the offensive line protects the quarterback, and then multiple quarterbacks are getting hurt in that way, maybe that's a fair question. But yeah, I admit that is a little bit of an unfair question. But it is. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting what they do. They definitely have the talent. We'll see how much they lose, whether Slowick leaves, whether more of their defensive staff leaves. It's going to be an interesting matchup there. But yeah, it's like we'll end the show on that note. We're going to try to I'm going to try to let's try to record next Saturday, like 24 hours before. That way, if we do have plans to watch the Super Bowl, we don't have we have all day on Sunday to prepare for that. But yeah, we'll see. Next Saturday we'll give a preview of the Super Bowl, um, some of the keys, some of the players to watch. But yeah, we'll see you next Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next weekend or probably next Saturday for a Super Bowl preview.
All right, thanks.